Hey everyone, in today's episode we are going to be trying something completely new with the podcast. We are going to be diving deep into a single niche, analyzing the top players, looking at what they do, looking at how they do link building, etc. And it's going to be really interesting because that is one of the niches that I've often taken as example as I show examples in SEO, in the newsletter, on Twitter, etc. And that is the VPN niche. So we are going to dive deep in. We're going to be talking about how they're monetizing, and we're also going to be drawing lessons from what these sites are doing in this very competitive niche that you can use on your sites in maybe less competitive niches. And even if you're not in a VPN niche, I expect you'll get a lot of value from this episode. So let us know if you like that kind of podcast in the comments, and if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe because we might be doing more of them if you guys are actually enjoying it. But without fluffing it anymore, let's get started with the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Atari Hacker Podcast. This week we are trying something a little bit new, something we haven't done before, so we're looking forward to hear your feedback on this, whether you like it, you don't like it. And what we're going to do is we are going to be talking about a niche in particular. We have spent some time, Googling it, looking at the keywords, analyzing it, looking at the top sites, etc., check what they do, etc. And we just want to dive deep and kind of like use their example as, a more generic source of ideas for what to do with your site. But before that, Mark, how's it going?
It's going good, and I'm just thinking this must be the only video on YouTube talking about VPNs that's not sponsored by a VPN company.
So if you want to send us money,
every video I seem to watch these days is sponsored by Surfshark or Nord or one of these big VPN companies.
Yeah. It's interesting that just so you know, we didn't say that, but we are going after the VPN niche today. So we're going to talk about the VPN niche, which is an interesting one. If you don't know what a VPN is basically a piece of software that you install on your phone, on your laptop, whatever, that essentially routes your internet traffic through some servers so that you can anonymize your web traffic so people can't tell what you're doing. So it's used, for example, to access, like a lot of people use an American IP abroad to access, Netflix content or Amazon Prime content, that kind of stuff that is geolocalized. You can use it for that. You can use it also to protect yourself on public Wi-Fi so that the people administrating the Wi-Fi don't see all the websites you're visiting. They just see you connecting to that VPN IP basically. And it does a bunch of other stuff, but that's essentially what it does. What else do you use a VPN for?
So I think a lot of people use it for sort of privacy from their ISP, so they can't like spy on them or anything like that. And in some countries where you have to worry about censorship and stuff, then it's a bigger deal. But I'm not 100% convinced that the public Wi-Fi thing is really that big of a deal. I mean, everything's sort of HTTPS secured these days anyway. So I think that's more like a marketing angle than a real benefit.
My personal angle is nobody gives a shit about your life. It's like
that's very true,
and it's like it doesn't matter how crazy you think your life is, it really isn't for most people. And so like from that aspect, I wouldn't use it, but at least that's how they promote it, and they're doing very well.
They got really popular after the whole NSA Edward Snowden thing. When was that? Like 2012, 13. And that when everyone kind of knew that shit was going on, where you're being spied on all the time, but that really like brought it to the mainstream.
I mean, I don't want to open that whole debate. We're not going to talk about politics here, but I think there's a reason why we picked that niche at this moment now, and is that a bunch of big sites have sold, right? Really big transactions, right?
Yeah, so there's a press release very recently that a site called Comparitech sold for, they didn't give the exact number, but it was between $50 and $100 million, which is a pretty big amount for an affiliate site. Remember back in the day when we were talking about the Wirecutter being, this massive sale, it was only 30 million. And then that's not even the biggest one, VPN Mentor, which I think is probably the biggest VPN affiliate site out there, at least the biggest one I could see on Ahrefs. And that sold recently for 150 million. So it's a 9-figure deal, which is just crazy.
For an affiliate site, it's crazy. Like, it's getting to like big business numbers. Like, I mean, we're not in the billions yet. It's not like it's not the Instagram sale or something like this, but it's getting closer, like
And what's so interesting about both of these sales is that they were bought by like conglomerates of company, or a company which owns a number of other actual service providers, so VPN companies. And in each case, this was, I think, their first foray into sort of vertical integration, buying an affiliate site as well. And that's something we've seen in other niches. It's quite popular in the sleep space with the whole Casper Sleepopolis story. You can read about that in the New Yorker, the article, "The War to Sell You a Mattress." I think we may be entering this sort of war to sell you a VPN quite soon as well with all this consolidation. But it's just very interesting space, and clearly a lot of money going around if they value these sites so highly.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna use it basically as their sales funnel, right? They're gonna capture people on these pages, then they, instead of being affiliate links, it's just gonna be links to their VPN service or whatever, and then it's just direct sales, and they don't have to pay the affiliates anymore, and that's pretty much the plan, right? Yeah, it's quite interesting, especially because it's a tricky one, because I've always wondered if the VPN niche has peaked already, because I feel like for a long time it's been growing a lot, and a lot of people talked about it. And it's like they're doing lots of sponsorship and so on, but I don't see people talk as much about it and so on, especially with, like, if you think about it, people were like using these to watch, let's say, streaming services from the US abroad from the US, for example, like that big use of VPNs. Actual use as well, like it's actually useful for that. But the thing is, Netflix, for example, posted a reduction of subscribers recently, and it's like it looks like even streaming services are peaking, right? And so you'd imagine that an adjacent industry like VPNs is probably peaking with them, and so it's an interesting time to buy when you know the valuation might be lower in like 2 or 3 years or something. I don't know what you think about this.
That could also just be related to the economy in general. You know, if we're heading for a sort of recession, even a short one, then everyone cancels these extra expenses to cut back a bit. So you got a lot of subscription fatigue that came about during the pandemic as well, and people are going to look for what they can cut out. If they're cut out their Netflix, then obviously it makes sense to cut out the VPN if that's what they use it for as well. Yeah. But and the other thing as well is travel. So that may work the other way around, because people haven't been traveling that much over the last couple of years. But the world's starting to open up again, and more places are sort of opening. So maybe VPNs will be more used for that. I mean, like, who's going to travel to visit China at the moment? Hardly anybody, unless you're sort of working there.
Even if you're working there, I don't think you're going, like with the lockdowns.
Next year, the year after, maybe it's a different story, and things will change, and then VPN suddenly more needed on that front.
There's actually also VPNs are becoming illegal in some countries. I think India just made them illegal.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, UAE, I think it's illegal as well. So
yeah, but the UAE, a lot of stuff's illegal, but it's not really prosecuted,
When I was researching that niche for the podcast, I saw that like a lot of VPN companies are now removing their servers from India following the new laws and stuff. So I haven't gone super deep into Indian news, but it looks like these kind of governments are making it legal as well. So it's an interesting time to purchase. I think I'm surprised, but I think what happened is these sites, they were getting paid so much money in affiliate commissions that it's a net saving for these companies that are buying them anyway, because they were giving the millions away. And there was no end to it as long as these sites were ranking. Whereas now it's like a one-off transaction, and it's probably like over time, maybe performance-based type stuff. Like you don't just get a lump sum of like 150 million usually when you do these kind of deals. So it's like it's possible that if there's a downturn, maybe it's going to be less and things like that, I would say. Anyway, let's go and jump into now we talked about VPN. Let's talk about VPN sites, affiliate niche. How do these sites work, right? So how do these sites make money?
All of them, the vast majority, are making money as affiliates. So they're promoting VPN companies, VPN service providers, and very little else. You'll rarely find ads on any VPN site. They rarely have any other kind of sponsorship deals or anything else. It's a very simple model, actually. And
it's like a pure affiliate.
There's a lot of VPN companies, but there's maybe sort of 5 to 10 big ones, and everyone seems to promote those same few. And so that actually simplifies your site a lot. And there's a lot of advantages there. If you think of, any Amazon site you have, especially like a broader site, you're promoting hundreds, possibly thousands of products. You have all the links to manage. You've got to worry about stuff being in and out of stock because it's physical products. You have none of that hassle with a VPN affiliate, because you're just promoting the same one. They're never out of stock. And, if you get enough volume, then you could probably get some pretty good like commission raises or bumps through negotiation as well, just because, it's very easy to direct 100% of your number one rankings on your site to one specific VPN and sort of change that around.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting as well is there's 10 products, probably 10 products you're promoting across all your pages. But you also have lots and lots and lots of keywords that you can promote in this niche for the 10 same products. It's kind of like a dream as an affiliate. It's like write lots of pages that can rank for lots of keywords, and all promoting the same products, so you don't have the problem of them being out of stock, or they change, there's a new model for the year, things like that. But if you think of keywords, what I saw from looking at VPN sites, and I look at that niche a lot because it's such a pure affiliate niche, actually. They're it's the archetype of the affiliate site when you look at a VPN site, and it's a very good place for me to learn. So when I was writing newsletters and stuff, it's been a great place for me to find examples to show stuff, especially because, as we'll talk about later, it's very competitive, so these people have to be cutting edge as well. But in terms of keywords, if you think about it, how to sell a VPN, well, there's people are using it to access content from their country abroad, right? So one of the types of keywords that is available is best VPN for countries. So best VPN for France, best VPN for the UK, best VPN for Ireland, best VPN for the US, best VPN for Korea, etc. So there's as many keywords as there are countries. And actually, even I'm sure that I haven't looked, but I'm sure there's regional keywords as well. People best VPN for Europe, best VPN for South America, best VPN. These are not countries, but all geographies you could think about, right? So that's already hundreds of keywords just for that one category. But also people are using these VPNs to access content online, right? To access content that is geolocally targeted, so you cannot access where you are. And so people target keywords also like how to watch and then name of content online or name of network online. So how to watch Amazon Prime outside the US, or how to watch Orange is the New Black outside the US, name of TV show, name of whatever. And again, as many types of contents as there's a new keyword that has its own intent and everything. So here's a few hundred more pages for your site. Now, there is 10-ish very popular VPN services as well. And people Google the VS keywords at a very high volume as well, thousands for the top ones, NordVPN versus ExpressVPN is thousands of visits per month, for example, thousands of searches per month on Ahrefs, which is quite a lot for a VS keyword. So again, with all the permutations that you can think of, and you can probably go down the top 50 services and get some volume, that's a lot of traffic and lots of pages that they can write about selling the exact same services. And if they're popular, there's also alternatives, right? So people are looking for NordVPN alternatives, Surfshark alternatives, PIA alternatives, etc. Lots of them.
Yeah, there's this constant battle that some of these sites, some of these VPN companies have with streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime, where the streaming services have to be seen to be sort of trying to combat the VPN for whatever, to satisfy their
it's copywriting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much they really care. But they at least have to make an effort to sort of fight back against them, and so that the copyright holders are happy, everyone's getting their royalties in the correct country and stuff. But as a result, if it's not working on one VPN, then people quickly look for an alternative that does work, and then it stops
not
working
only
there,
that.
and
they're looking for alternative, right? They might be looking for PIA alternative, for example, but they're also looking for solution to their problems, right? So it's they will be Googling Netflix is not working with Surfshark, or Netflix not working with whatever, or and then it's Amazon Prime not working with VPN. So it's service not working with, and then name of VPN, for example. Again, hundreds of keywords permutations here with traffic that is potentially buying quite easily. Then one thing I didn't mention as well is you can install these VPNs on your phone, your laptop, your tablet, everything. all of them have different models and they have different operating systems. And again, like, best VPNs for Mac, best VPNs for Windows, best VPN for Chromebook, best VPN for Android, best VPN. Like, there's like dozens and dozens more keywords there. And then there's so much more. Like, so it's like, it's kind of the dream affiliate niche because, as I said, few products, lots of keywords to sell the same products. And so that's why people can do a VPN site with thousands of pages eventually, all selling the same products, all with very high buyer intent for all these keywords. And so it's really quite the perfect storm of a niche, I would say,
It's quite interesting how there's so many permutations. Like, people are looking for a very specific, like, best VPN in La Rochelle, France to watch Netflix, but it's not working with, they're looking for a very specific thing. But I don't know, like, I've used VPN software for a number of years now, and they're kind of like all the same, really.
They're all the same.
I'm
pretty sure they go through the same servers too, actually.
They're not really, one is not really that much better than the other, especially for a very specific use case. I was reading this book, Alchemy, by Rory Sutherland, and he said that there are drug companies who they'll make like headache or pain medicine for your lower back, but it's still just basic paracetamol. They just it's the labeling and marketing. So it's kind of like similar dynamic here. People like a more specialized solution, even if it's all the same underlying solution at the end of the day. I think that's what's happening there.
Yeah, but you can see if you go in Ahrefs and you check for this keyword, like just type best VPN in any keyword tool and look at all the long-term variations. And you will understand like how much demand there is for all these different things. And the thing as well is like, it's not just that, but people might also be Googling like how to watch Netflix in France, for example, or how they're not saying VPN in their query, but they're looking for a VPN, and a lot of these like use cases, there's so many because it's applying to so many platforms and so many things like that. So really thousands and thousands of keywords that you can find for this niche, all selling the same products. And that means that it's quite interesting because that means you can do volume for given products. So it's like the hard thing as an affiliate, it's like if you go off Amazon, forget Amazon, is to sell a high volume of the same product, because then you can negotiate higher commissions, and you can essentially get more money for the same amount of work. And so when you do traditional SEO, it's quite tricky, right? Let's say you're selling, selling paintball guns, of course. It's more difficult because if you are like going for like best short-range paintball gun versus best sniper paintball gun, you're gonna sell two different products, right? They might be from the same brand, so you might be able to get a deal, but they might also be from different brands. Whereas if you do best VPN for Mac and best VPN for Windows, it's the same product usually. Like it's just a different client, and it's all the same. And so you're able to achieve volume, you're able to negotiate higher commissions, and again, it kind of like adds up to that perfect storm of being an affiliate for that niche, basically. I don't know what you think, but yeah.
I think that also makes it incredibly competitive.
Yes, though. That's the one thing we didn't say yet.
Because that's, I guess, the biggest downside. Because all of those perfect storm factors are in alignment, a lot of people have tried to make sites, and a lot of people have succeeded to the sort of 9-figure level, at least. So, it's difficult for a new site, or it looks like a very difficult niche for a new site to get into. Even if you Google some of the top level keywords, the VPN sites, the ones we're talking about that sold, are not ranking. It's all sort of PC Mag and big international publications have created VPN sections because it's just so lucrative. And there's we're talking like DR90 being the average on page 1 for some of these keywords. So yeah, it's quite an intimidating place to get started in, I think.
It's one of these niches that I've used as a benchmark to evaluate how big publications are like taking over affiliate queries, for example. Obviously, it's probably one of the most extreme ones, and if you go to like more niche stuff, it's going to be not extreme, but like it's the perfect case study. Like you would Google these keywords like 3-4 years ago, you'd find these VPN sites that sold. Like you'd find like Comparitech, you'd find like VPN Mentor and so on. And now they're like not on page 1. They are like 80 plus, they're not like tiny sites or something. They've done like hardcore link building and so on. Like, again, these are the kind of sites that I look at to learn SEO and so on. And still, they couldn't fight that tidal wave of like the real big publishers, like the PC Mags and the CNETs and everything. And it's quite interesting to see what's been happening here, because it tells you like what 2-3 years of core updates have done to some SERPs. It's really replaced like the niche sites with like just big publications. The other day I can't remember. I think the keyword was best steak service, like steak to eat. Forbes was ranking number 1, and I was like, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not exactly looking for Forbes where I'm looking for that. And it's like, yeah, I think it's really a good example of these competitive niches, where like niche sites are not necessarily welcome anymore for the biggest queries. If you check, like, I think VPN Mentor still gets millions of visits per month, right? It's not exactly like they've been destroyed by updates, but
yeah, there's so many other keywords
exactly.
and lower mid-level ones that it's still massively profitable, obviously, for them.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not saying that this is like, oh, you can never do it, it's doom and gloom, etc. I'm just saying that for the biggest queries of the niche, Google has said pretty much like, we don't want these specialized sites anymore. We just want these big publications. And it's kind of like an illustration of Google favoring big DR sites, I would say, in this case.
Yeah. Although, like, in terms of content as well, like one other thing I wanted to talk about is how easy it is to actually create content in the space compared to other affiliate niches, because we're talking about a software product here. So getting hold of that, you can pay whatever $5-10 these things cost, and use it, test it, take the screenshots, run whatever you need to run, and you've essentially got like a product in hand type review. Versus, if you're reviewing lawnmowers or garden chairs or something, you're spending thousands of dollars to buy all of these and take photos in your garden of their performance and that. So it's the barrier to entry for creating content, I think, is relatively low. Also, just looking on sites like ProBlogger, there are, when we've run job ads in the past for specialist writers in like internet marketing, say, you end up paying quite a bit more than you would on it for like an average tech writer or whatever. I don't know how much they would cost these days, but I would say maybe like 6-7 cents for like a tech writer per word would be realistic. Do you think that's a fair estimation?
Yeah, it depends on the level. I would say like an average one, like not world class, not terrible,
So you're not in a situation where you have super expensive writers like you might do in some kind of like medical field, or if you need to hire vets or something like that. It's fairly sort of like cookie cutter stuff to.
There's a lot of enthusiasts as well.
That also means it's really difficult to stand out, though, because these companies who have been doing this a long time and who are just like, they just have it down perfectly, like the affiliate side of thing with the review boxes at the top, the individual reviews of each product on like the roundup page, the screenshots, like all that. It's well done, and I don't see too much room to come in and like improve on that, because it's already kind of about as good as it can realistically get. There are many niches out there you look at and think, yeah, the content's kind of average. I could come in and do something, quite a bit better and gain a competitive advantage there. With VPN, it's like, how are you going to gain a competitive advantage in content? Very, very difficult. So then you're looking at, well, can I do better link building? And the answer is probably not, because again, sites like VPN Mentor, they're just insane at the way they do link building. We talked about them a little bit in the podcast before when we're talking about creative link building examples. I think we'll maybe link to that over here for those of you on YouTube. But they have what appears to be a team of security researchers who just go around and try and find security breaches or data dumps of passwords, and they try and break the news. So they're kind of like ethical hackers, I guess, but they break the news to the world that, hey, that such and such company got hacked and they're trying to cover it up or whatever.
I think they tell the companies before they publish. Like that's how you do ethical hacking. You tell them, and then you get the right to publish about it when they have fixed it.
And when they do this, the results are just some of the best links I've ever seen on such a campaign. So they had this like BioStar 2 leak, just a standard sort of practice for that kind of thing. And they got 363 links from it. And the top ones are from The Guardian, BBC, Harvard.edu, CNET, The Verge, Mashable, ZDNet, Fox News, PC Mag. Like just all AAA sites. You know, just the best of the best sites on the internet. And they have hundreds of pages like this with links, do follow links from all these kinds of sites. And so, you know, for a new site to go and compete against that, it's a pretty tough ask, I would say.
Yeah, you need to be good. Like, you need to be like, it's like, I think the top 2% of the industry can consider it. The rest I wouldn't. It's really difficult. Like this is like PR level. It's not just like, they're not like sending an outreach email to the BBC. You know, like they have people on the inside. They pay PR agencies that know people, and then they create the content, and then they pass the content to the PR agency that then uses their contact. But like, you know, it's not just one agency they hire. They probably hire like 4, 5, 6, 7 agencies, all with different networks that can then all promote the same content and to get to that result. Like it's a big operation. And just orchestrating that, even doing it once is extremely difficult. But what's impressive, if you go on VPN Mentor, it's like all the time they've done it. I think it's like they found this niche pays so much that they found the best way to monetize ethical hacking. Like it, you know what I mean? It's like the best way to do it for free. Basically, it's to just do that and then just get paid with the links. And it was worth it for a long time, given the fact that these guys have sold for 150 million, you know. And I'm pretty sure they were profitable while they were running that, even forgetting about the exit of the site or something like that. So yeah, very, very impressive. But if you want live examples, go check VPN Mentor, go check that page that Mark mentioned, or like just throw them in Ahrefs and look at top pages by links. You learn a lot. Like it's one of the best places to learn. Like if you like examples when I do content, that's the kind of places where I go.
The other site which got acquired, which we were talking about earlier, Comparitech, they look to have, I'm not sure if they acquired it or what the deal was, but there was a couple of sites, blockedinchina.net and greatfirewallofchina.org, that if you look in Ahrefs are redirected to a subpage where it is basically a tool that allows you to go and check if a website's blocked in China or not. And I guess a lot of people want to do that. A lot of people find it useful. And most importantly, a lot of people link to those sites. So they've somehow acquired these existing tools and then just swooped up all their links as well through redirects. So that seems to have given them quite a boost as well. And that's the kind of thing you have to do, you know, spend, I don't know how much money, but like I spend a lot of money to acquire tools that have links and you know grow in the space. So it's like it's a lesson as well for any other niche. If you want to sort of shortcut your way to higher DR and towards the top of the niche, then look at what tools exist out there, what free tools exist out there that maybe are not monetized, and are there any that you can acquire and just buy them for the links basically.
Yeah, it's crazy actually. It's case studies for link building as well. I was actually checking Comparitech as well, and I found they did the same. They also made like some very. It's funny because these sites in VPN is quite because it's about, you know, protecting your privacy, etc. They took that very strong freedom angle, but then it went towards this patriotic stuff in the US, etc. And so like you know, they made like list of stuff like the world's most surveilled cities in the world, and that content got 1,200 linking root domains, for example. It's quite interesting, but you know the bait for that. And it's quite interesting because that's reusable in many niches. The bait for that when you do these when you list cities is that you do get the opportunity to then promote that list to all the local newspapers of these cities or countries or whatever, and you do get the opportunity to get lots of links, because it's like, oh, like in our case, like Hungary is quoted as like the most corrupt state in EU or something, right? And then it's like all the local newspapers will run that story, and it's a really big opportunity, and I believe that's why that piece worked. But it can be done in many niches, right? It's like, think about how you could rank, cities or areas of your country or whatever in a list post associated to your niche. So it's like, again, if you're doing paintball, it's like, are the cities with the best paintball fields in the world or something? And it's like, you quote them and then you send that to local newspaper, and just a source of pride, you just ego trip them on the fact that they're like, oh, the best city for this thing, and they will run you. And you get like these local newspapers, they are like 62, 80 usually or something, and it's quite worth it actually.
And it doesn't even need to be super high level content. There was that one example of Slotsia, the Swedish casino website, that made a list of the best cities to party around the world, and the price of a beer and how many nightclubs per square meter there were or whatever. It was a very sort of simplistic thing that they had built. But it got picked up by like all sorts of local newspapers from like Russia to Israel, all over Europe. And they featured it because it's like a fun thing to talk about. And they need content, I guess, to make their newspapers work.
Yeah, I think it's that angle. Most people can use that. And if you want something if you need like new targets for link building, you've kind of like run through like the global sites in your niche and so on, that is a good way to get some good links. And that's a campaign that's doable because you're reaching out to more local newspapers and publications. So they're like less like they have less on their editorial than the bigger ones like the BBC or like the big ones have, like you can't do that. So I would say that's a cool one that you can take away, and that's one of the places where I learned this one, for example. So again,
and just to kind of like complete the link building section, I had a quick look because I have all the Haro emails for like the last however many years in a folder in my inbox, and I searched through it. And last year there were 20 mentions of VPN in the question, so I wouldn't really be relying so much on Haro as my link building strategy in the VPN niche, especially considering the numbers that these other sites are putting out for all their content as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to run. One thing that's interesting though is like we've established at this point that it's extremely competitive in the SERPs, like ranking for this on Google. I don't want to attack anyone, but I think for most people, us included, it would be very difficult to build a big site in this niche. But I was curious to see how people do on YouTube for this niche, because people search for stuff on YouTube and people buy stuff through affiliate links on YouTube. Like it's pretty good actually. And so I was like, okay, has this been taken over yet by all the big guys? And I searched on YouTube. I did not Google. For the biggest keywords that you would type on Google, like best VPN or best VPN for Mac or best VPN for Windows, stuff like that. And all I found was usually medium-sized channels, like people with like 100K subs or something, which sounds like a lot, but it's not that. It's quite achievable for most people to get to that level. And none of these big conglomerate sites now was showing up, and it feels like the market's still wide open there. And there's still money to be made there. So it's quite interesting to see. I think we are at a point now where some niches are hardly touchable on the Google side, but that on the social/YouTube side, etc., is still quite wide open. And I think a lot of affiliates should, it's because these niches seem to pay so much. It could be, if you were looking to do affiliate marketing, but not necessarily go on Google, but rather go on YouTube or one of these platforms, that would be probably one of the niches that I would pick, because you'll make less, right? It's like there's still less people searching for these things on these platforms, etc. So if you pick a small niche on YouTube, it's going to be hard to live from affiliate marketing. But if you pick a niche like these VPNs, yeah, I think it's actually quite viable because the revenue is quite high. You can still make all these videos for best VPN for Mac, best VPN for Windows, etc., and pick up a decent amount of views through all the long tail, and you can make some decent money. So I think it's it's something that was maybe not on the table a few years ago, but now with the growth of social, YouTube, etc., and the fact that Google is becoming quite difficult in some other aspects, maybe you start on YouTube for this, and then eventually maybe you grow a site or something. I think with tutorials, etc., you can still make it. You need to just go around the difficulty maybe. But yeah,
I was just looking at a few of the commission structures on some of the more popular companies. They have it listed on their sites, and quite a few of them actually have recurring commissions to affiliates. So as long as someone stays subscribed, you get paid sort of 30% every month in one case. So that can really stack up quite quickly, and people often keep VPNs for quite a long period of time.
They buy 1 year as well. It's so much cheaper for 1 year. So usually it's like if you get people to renew that one time after 1 year, then you're golden, I think. If people keep it for 2 years, they're likely to keep it for a while. So yeah, overall it was quite interesting to check on the social side. Like I would not necessarily recommend you go. I mean, I haven't checked TikTok or something like this for this, but on YouTube it seems viable actually. I want kind of like to finish this podcast and talk about like this consolidation effect. The fact that like it seems like this kind of niches, not just this one, right? There's more niches like that, like this sleeping niche, and basically the biggest, broadest niches that make the most money on the market seem to be consolidating. It's not really like small site owners anymore running the top sites, but rather big conglomerates, big sites. To be frank, there's much more money in these niches than there was also like 4 or 5 years ago, right? It's like we would never have heard of a site selling for 150 million, which is a testament to the revenue of the site a couple years ago. Like we wouldn't. It would just for a pure affiliate site, no way. So do you feel like it's something that's gonna expand to more niches, or do you think it's gonna stay on the top niches, these kind of top niches only?
So I think it'll stay in the top niches, but I think there's probably quite a few more big niches that this can happen. We've already seen this with hosting, with sleep, with VPN. I don't know about like casinos, and I presume CBD probably, and these ones are kind CBD of similar probably, as well. Yeah. But business and these kind of deals tend to go where the money is. So you look at any niche that is highly profitable, it makes a lot of money, that pays very big commissions, and you'll probably find more of this going on, especially as I imagine we're likely to see kind of slightly lower valuations of sites over the next couple of years as the sort of recession type
high interest rates in. I think as well.
Yeah, exactly. The cheap money is no more. So that may become a factor. Whether that becomes a problem for the small guy, I don't know specifically. I think big companies still tend to go for like the big keywords, and they still leave the easier, smaller ones open for the little guy to come in. So I think that's always going to be like a realistic possibility, even in competitive niches like this. One thing that it could cause problems with, though, is if you have a supplier like a VPN company which owns, let's say, like multiple big affiliate sites, then maybe they can start like cutting their commission rates to like the smaller affiliates because they already hoover up most of the traffic from the big ones. I mean, the two deals that we read about, they only seem to have one actual affiliate site that they've acquired. All the other sites are other VPN companies or kind of related privacy companies, which are actually supplying this. So I'm not really sure if they're just sort of testing the water or if that's a trend that's going to continue, but we'll need to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I also think, as I said, there's just much more money on the internet post-pandemic, I would say. And it's one of these things where it's like, you can probably afford to go for like, there's more smaller niches that are viable as well now because of that. And so like, it's kind of like everything's moving down one level, right? It's like the big business is kind of like taking these top niches, then the smaller guys can kind of like take all the smaller niches that maybe were not viable a couple of years ago, but now became viable as well. So there's pros and cons to everything. It's something to consider. I think, like, I wanted to ask you, would you start a site in this niche? How would you feel about that?
I mean, I'm quite intimidated by just how much authority like these big sites have, and the fact that even they don't rank for like some on page one for like the top level keywords. So Probably not, just due to the extreme competition. But that being said, if I was, starting from scratch day one, it may make sense because there's probably enough like low competition keywords that quite quickly you could start making sort of like job replacement income from it if you go super niche with your keywords and don't go for anything competitive.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's. If I had to start a site, I think we could make it work. It would be difficult. Let's be honest, it would be quite difficult, but we could eventually find a way around. Would I deliberately go after this? No. I think there's like, I'm just looking at like how much effort I'm putting and how much I'm getting in return. And it's kind of like you could get a lot if you make it do well. Like you could really get a lot, but it's a high gamble. It's a big gamble. Whereas there's things that are more assured, and it's like I'd rather maybe trade like the ceiling to be a bit lower in exchange for something that's more likely to succeed, and again, it depends on everyone's risk tolerance and like how high they want to go, they aspire to go themselves, etc. I personally prefer like average stuff that's very likely to succeed, and just do it several times than just going for the absolute most competitive niches. But some people are like that. Like some people in H4 are like that too. They go after the big stuff and they make it work. I know people in this niche to this day that are doing okay, more than okay even right now. So it's definitely possible. It's still possible as a small publisher, but it's difficult. Anything else you want to say on the VPN niche?
No, just if you guys like this kind of format where we take one niche and do more of a deep dive into it, like let us know in the YouTube comments, and we may look at some other niches. If you have any ideas or suggestions for niches which we should look into, let us know there as well.
Yeah, you can tell me on Twitter as well. I'm more active there, so you can go on my personal account @GailBreton. Pretty easy. We'll see who can spell it and who can't that way, because a lot of people struggle with that. GaelBreton. So yeah, tell me that. Tell us also on the YouTube comments. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for another episode.